what's going on in America? As a really more of an American who's living now in Australia, my heart's always going to be tied to the United States. My family and most of my friends are, of course, in the United States. My mother, my three sisters, and they're all across the U.S. in major cities and places, all four of them really. But again, like I said, I got tons of friends, particularly in Tennessee, but also in Texas and a few other spots across really the entire country. And, most of the world's eyes are really on the United States. They're always going to be looking at that country more than any other place. America has an incredible destiny, I know, and a lot of power and influence over the world. But whether it's using it for good or for bad or whatever, and really living up its true nobility, its true ability to be a really leader of the world, to help us grow and develop into a one world nation and become the planet Earth, it's, going through some problems. And so my thoughts right now are just, of course, on what's going on there. Like, I'm seeing these news broadcasts about ICE, the Immigration Enforcement Agency, and how they're really implementing themselves in the United States. And they seem to be, for some reason, I don't know why this state is really conflicting in particular, but ICE is just having a lot of drama right now in the state of Minnesota. They killed Renee Good, I don't know if it was like a week or 2 weeks ago now. And, I've watched that video. There's tons of analyzation videos where people really analyzing the video from different viewpoints, and whether her car was pointing at the guy and all these really details. It's amazing, the detail Americans will go to analyze justice and analyze responsibility and culpability and all the things that come with something like this. And generally speaking, that just looks atrocious. 99% of Americans are going to look at that and just go, that's pretty ridiculous. There's no reason why ICE needed to shoot this woman, American citizen, in a car. Like, apparently that's not even a police tactic that you should ever do as a police person, because of course you shoot somebody driving a car, they can literally drive and kill other human beings who had nothing to do with it. So there's no best practice there, on top of the fact that it's murder to kill somebody. And then, of course, they're now finding the history of this guy is just not good. He apparently had a similar situation with a car and everything. So he's probably, just... Look, that can give him some understanding, at least, for some perspective on why he maybe just got too emotional and shot this woman. But at the same time, it doesn't absolve him. He should not have done that. It's just the bottom line. That just is wrong. I always want to give cops leeway. I absolutely believe we need police force across the world, people to protect and serve, of course, but protect us, keep order. If we didn't have police, we know that people would just run amok doing crimes and stuff. We would all be living in a state of danger, and we need the police. We just need, of course, capable, responsible police and management team leaders, chiefs, and all the stuff that come with that as well. The experience of doing this the right way. And I feel horrible when police get dogged for doing their job. And it's a weird line to find that balance of responsibility where they're doing it right, but also holding them accountable. I definitely, though, think there's got to be some leeway. Absolutely. And that society and judges in particular need to give them that, because we can't not have police. All these people are like, you were saying, end the police, defund the police, all that stuff. That I'd never agreed with that. That was silly, and it's ignorant, and it's just not true. We need just strong, capable, unbiased police, sure, but basically noble people. And so I feel like that job is an incredibly noble position. To serve and protect society is a noble position, but unfortunately we are getting bad cops as well. I think probably overwhelmingly cops are great, noble, good people trying to do their best, just like any other human being in a position of great power and danger, really. But we're going to have bad cops, and to identify all police by the 1% that's just bad is, first of all, just bad mindset, bad quality. But that's part of the social media dilemma that we're really experiencing now as a society, that we're getting fed only the bad stories. We're being told by political sides and so forth, this is what this means, or this is why this person was killed. And that's never, ever true the case. I believe every situation is gray. There's no such thing as black and white situations, period. And that there's always more context to be learned. And the only true judge at the end of the day will always be God, because God is the only one that actually knows all the truth, context, and everything. And we as a society, with organized situations like, judges and lawyers and the way we set up our society, needs to do their best on how to judge a situation and therefore dispel the punishments that are necessary when cops do bad or when other people do bad. But at the end of the day, they will also be able to they will absolutely and have absolutely make mistakes, and that's just the way it goes. At that point, that's God. That's life is really what I want to say. It's not God, but it's life. That is, like, if you get sent to prison, for example, even though you're completely innocent, it's life. It's just, that's what we deal with. There's always going to be injustices that we're going to have to deal with, where people do something wrong and we don't get the justice in this world. I do believe in the next world that the justice is done. How that's done, who knows until we get there. But I definitely believe that that's part of this world, is that the trials and tribulations we endure are often at the hands of other human beings, and we may not see justice in this world. Sometimes we do. An interesting thing I always like to point out, I feel like it's a really cool conversation for another day, but is that it says in the Baha'i writings that if you do something wrong, but you're punished for it in this world, you're not repunished in the next world. And that it's better to be punished in this world for the crimes that you've committed or the problems, the things you did bad in this world, because to be punished in the next world for those crimes that you did here is worse. And so, for example, if you kill somebody here, you don't go to jail, you get away with it, whatever, you're going to be punished for it regardless, but it'll be much worse. It's actually better to go to prison here. That's an interesting topic for maybe another day, but I find that also kind of fascinating. And sometimes, we're talking about extreme crimes there, but it could also just be, you lied to a friend or family member or whatever. Apologize, say you're sorry, say I made a mistake, or here's the context, explain it to your friend. And it's, of course, up to them whether they forgive you or not. But I believe that, just strive to do your best to be a noble human being. And God is the true judge at the end of the day. And I personally would say, I believe, God is a father. They're a parent. They're a mother and a father. They encapsulate all that. And, I have trust and love in God that they treat us correctly. So if we do bad, they give us the punishment that we need. If we do good, or or there's context that, he's just the judge, and let's leave it up to him, I guess. So back to the point. What's going on, ICE? What's going on in America? What's going on in Minnesota? Why are we having so much drama, particularly in Minnesota? I'm just kind of curious about that aspect of things. But my perspective right now, and it's a growing, evolving perspective, watching different news and people's videos like this, is why is ICE acting this way? I agree with a lot of people saying, like, the fact that they are wearing masks, that they look like federal agents, but they apparently don't actually have to identify themselves like the police do. That they may have a badge, but other than that, you don't know any names or anything like that. Is very scary to really ponder and think about that for a second. If ICE kind of has this blanket ability, and the way that they're really enforcing it, and we're seeing it in action now, is very, very scary. And Americans need to take a second to really ponder how bad this could really get. And I want to say to the president, and again, I want to point out, not political. I'm not left. I'm not right. I abstain from identifying as either because I'm not. I am a human being just like everyone else in the United States, across the planet, of course, as well. I'm a human being, and I abstain from deciding to be one or the other because I don't agree, first of all, that you should be one or the other. I think having the political parties is part of the problem in America right now, the division that it causes. But also, if you decide that you're one side or the other, then you automatically go with their viewpoint. Well, I agree with things on one side and agree with things on the other side. I disagree with both sides. And in general, I am very disappointed with the government right now. And so I'm just saying, look, Mr. President, and perhaps the people that are just blanketly going with the sort of the Republican side right now on ice and just giving them carte blanche to do whatever they want. You can't do that, my friends. You got to step back and say, this is wrong. You got to keep your own party in check. You got to keep your own side in check, and also just apply, again, reality and common sense to every situation. Holding people accountable and justice is a very Republican conservative view. And so don't be that political lackey on your side and just say, oh, well, it's okay, or justify it in your own way. We got to be honest and true with ourselves. And if you are deciding to be with the one side or the other, be responsible. Because right now, I feel like this is not looking good for the Republican Party. It's definitely not looking good for Mr. Trump. And take some responsibility. Like, nothing to me is more noble than when a leader says, I made a mistake and I'm sorry. This is not right. This should be fixed. We're going to work on it. That's all you have to do. That's what true leadership is. That's what nobility is when somebody can do that. You just don't see that right now. I feel like that's just, have you ever seen, this president say something like that? And that right there is scary alone, just that aspect of not having somebody who's apologetic, because mistakes are always going to be made. It's okay to have a president that makes mistakes. But look, if it's a dramatic mistake that leads to the end of the world or millions of dying because of a nuclear bomb or something like that, of course, you're done. Should be done. But generally speaking, just like the police, we need to have a sense of humanity and some leeway with everybody in our lives. People make mistakes. People say silly things. They didn't mean it. Heat of the moment. Stuff like that. And the responsibility, I guess, gets more dramatic and more high the higher you are in positions of both policemen, in this case ICE, but also as the president of the United States. The responsibility just is higher. You choose to take that job on, that's the responsibility you take on, and you have a high bar that you have to live up to. But my point here is, guys, what's going on there? That's just not the way this should be enforced.